Now, Malawi state prosecutor plans to appeal the Bushiris' unconditional release from prison in Malawi yesterday. The couple, facing charges here in South Africa, fled to their home country last week, saying they feared for their lives. They were arrested in Malawi, but they have since been released. Malawi Information Minister Gospel Kazako joins us via Zoom. Thank you very much, Minister, for your time. We really do appreciate it. Could you please explain to us why the arrest was ruled illegal yesterday?
I think most of the issues have already been discussed, and most of the issues have been communicated and reported. The gist of it is that, it was an illegal arrest because the minister responsible was not involved. He needed to issue his authority so that the arrest was supposed to be seen to be legal. But in this case, it was illegal. So the courts threw it out.
All right. So essentially a technicality. Was that error South Africa's fault, or was it an oversight on the Malawian side?
I think it was an oversight on Malawi's side. Because South Africa had sent us what it needed to send, although there are still so many documents that South Africa has to send. You know, South Africa has been very slow. It's not appearing anywhere, a semblance of, sending documents that are required, according to the lawyers. We are saying this also because, remember the fragrance of the blame that was there much earlier when our government was being accused that we were slow, or probably we needed to act on issues that we had no basis on. But this time around, the process has started, but South Africa is nowhere to be seen.
All right, so it's an interesting one because I spoke to our Justice Minister last night and he said we're treating this as a matter of absolute urgency. Those of us in South Africa are going, well, what's going on in Malawi? Why is it all falling apart? But you're saying actually South Africa has not provided the documents required, even though in this particular case Malawi perhaps erred in not sorting out the technical issues around this arrest. I just want to check the status of diplomacy between your country and ours. We know that there was a lot of unhappiness when the Malawian president's plane was searched, and there was also a suggestion that somehow Malawi would be involved in the plans for the Bushiris to flee. Have you got a good working relationship diplomatically? Because you're going to have to work together a lot over this process.
If we didn't have a good relationship diplomatically, certainly we wouldn't have been talking of us taking Prophet Bushiri and his wife to court. If we didn't have a good and healthy diplomatic relation with South Africa, certainly we wouldn't have acted on the cable that was sent to us from Interpol Pretoria. We have a good and healthy diplomatic relations with South Africa. What we're doing now is to ensure that we do the right things. I must also mention that it is very important that the media in South Africa must, and I urge you, to isolate the two. They are not one. The protocol issues involving our president and the issue of Prophet Bushiri and his wife, these are totally two different issues. But we are surprised because there is every effort in South Africa, especially by the media, to combine the two. One, let me mention that our president, we have mentioned this, it had nothing to do with the coming in of Prophet Bushiri. These issues are totally different and they cannot talk to each other. So let's not make any effort to put the two, because to me it looks like this is something that is meant to fertilize a certain narrative, so that the two should, be able to talk to each other. And for what reason, I really don't know. But the two are different, and please get this right.
We are aware. Minister, we are aware.
Yes.
It's just what I was trying to probe is whether that had ruffled diplomatic feathers to the extent that Malawi was just not too happy with South Africa at the moment. But I hear you completely. What I want to ask you is what we know that the state prosecutor... No, I do hear you, and you've made your point really well. I just want to ask you, the state prosecutor, we understand, is now going to try and push this matter forward again to appeal the decision to release the Bushiris. Is that matter going to proceed quite quickly, or could it be held up by South Africa if they don't provide the documents quickly?
South Africa has to play a role, especially when they were too loud, blaming us. We expect them to be a little more proactive in this matter, and so far that has not been the case.
I hear you.
The state lawyers, the Director of Public Prosecution in the Office of the Attorney General, will be required to make an appeal next week, Monday or Tuesday. But what we are hearing is that there's still certain documents that have not been sent to Malawi by the South African prosecuting authority. So those are important documents, so that if there is that move to go to the courts, they must go there with the finality and everything stitched up very well.
Have you had any communication?
At the moment, that's not what it is.
I hear you. Have you had any communication with the South African authorities?
All the communications that are coming from South Africa are preliminary, provisional. There isn't anything with the finality. They know it. If you ask your prosecution or prosecuting authority in South Africa, they will be able to tell you what they have not provided to Malawi government. Not Malawi government per se directly, because we are an executive government, but we have arms of government, agents of government that certainly will be looking to having these things. In this case, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution in the Office of the Attorney General. So your authority there is very aware of what they have not submitted to Malawi, and Malawi is just waiting so that the process of law starts to roll.
All right. Well, Minister, I think we'll chase up the NPA on our side, but I do want to ask you, is the Bushiri couple free to leave Malawi if they wish? Because I think South Africa's concern is that they might move on to another country where there isn't any extradition treaty. Can they actually leave Malawi right now if they wanted to?
Why should it be a concern? They are free people. And I must also mention that Malawi has been their choice. They are very free here. They are very comfortable here. This is their home. And certainly if they had any other option elsewhere, they would have started from your country, getting through your borders, and go to that country. This is where they feel free. This is where they feel safe. So we do not think that they'll be thinking of going to any other country, because this is their country and this is their home.
Are you aware of any diplomatic status that the couple may have which may prevent an extradition?
I think that is the technicality of law. But what I know is they have diplomatic passports, and whether that will hinge or will affect the case or will affect the extradition or any other issue that might be required in the equation, I think that will be seen. But at the moment, they are free and they are here. They have diplomatic passport. Of course, you might wish to know that you're keeping their diplomatic passports in South Africa there, and then we have to look at the law on the impact of owning or being issued a diplomatic passport. What the impact that has, to the case.
Do you know how they arrived in Malawi? Was it legal? Did they use legal passports?
We are still investigating, but at least we know that they passed through your borders, and we would like to believe that the same way they passed through your borders, the same way that they beat the system with the immigration, could be the same way that they also arrived in Malawi, especially that you are aware that they don't have their passports with them. Their passports are with you. So I think that it could be the same way. There's also another thing that is going around the media in South Africa, that the Prophet and his wife had 5 passports, or they have 5 passports. According to our passport office here in Malawi, that is not correct and that is not true. But we're not very surprised that coming from that side, because we are a bit concerned with the pushing of a negative narrative around an issue that can be sorted out easily using the tenets and dictates of law.
Thank you very much for your time this evening, Malawi Information Minister Gospel Kazako.